At exactly 5:17 local time, the USS Gravely's forward deck mount came to life with a heavy metallic tremor. Steel shifted, the ship seemed to tense, and for a brief second, sailors above the restless Caribbean stopped where they stood. Then, the internal network carried one crisp order through the destroyer. Condition 3, key stations manned. No one asked what it meant, no one needed to. 3 unidentified surface contacts were moving in quickly from the southwest. Their speed was climbing, their formation was tightening, and the tactical screen marked them as Sierra 1, 2, and 3, showing Venezuelan origin. On the bridge, the captain did not raise his voice. He did not have to. His orders moved through the ship with calm authority. Access points were opened, safety procedures cleared, helmets went on, and every team shifted into place. Below, inside the Combat Information Center, operators tracked the contacts as they pushed forward at 28 knots, bearing 243, closing fast. The Gravely's 5-inch mount turned only a few degrees, but that small movement said enough. It was a signal, loud without a sound. Visual confirmation was still negative. The profiles were low, most likely fast patrol boats. They carried no heavy signature, only speed, coordination, and a very clear purpose. Whoever was at the controls knew exactly how close they could come without stepping over the final line. The Gravely's electronic systems powered up, sweeping across the spectrum. Every ping, every signal, every emission was captured and logged. The crew had seen tense approaches before, but not with Caracas this heated and not this close to the edge of international waters. This time, the order was not simply to wait, it was to show presence. The operations officer leaned over the surface tracking display. The contacts were now inside 12 nautical miles and still closing. "Recommend we classify intent as elevated pending identification," he reported. "Copy," the captain answered. "Maintain course. Defensive systems ready. No engagement unless directed." Down on the main deck, sailors moved with practiced focus. Teams checked feeds, verified systems, and confirmed readiness. The close-in defensive system began to spin up, its sharp mechanical whine carrying faintly through the steel walls of the ship. Everything was active now. It had the shape of a rapid approach drill, the kind that usually ended with relief and nervous laughter. But drills did not arrive with national markings on the screen. The internal net crackled again. "Bridge, CIC, contacts accelerating to 29 knots. "Understood," the watch officer replied. "Mark closest point of approach, 4.6 nautical miles. Plot intercept vectors." At the helm, the helmsman kept his eyes locked on the destroyer's heading. The Gravely was holding inside international waters by less than 3 miles. One careless adjustment, one accidental drift, and the situation could be framed as provocation. On the bridge, binoculars swept across the empty horizon. The bearing was clear. The patrol boats were not wandering. They were driving straight toward the Gravely's beam. This kind of move, military analysts understand, says everything without a single word. "We see you, and we are not moving aside." The captain pressed the intercom, his voice calm and steady. "Engineering, keep full power available on the turbines. We may need to maneuver." By now, this was no longer routine. The USS Gravely was not in these waters by chance. For the past 2 months, American destroyers and Coast Guard cutters had been operating across the southern Caribbean under Operation Sentinel South. Officially, the mission was described as a maritime security effort focused on interrupting illegal routes connected to Venezuelan waters. In reality, it carried a much broader message. Washington was watching closely. Only 4 days earlier, U.S. Navy helicopters had intercepted 2 high-speed boats suspected of moving restricted cargo toward Curaçao. One vessel was stopped after ignoring repeated instructions. Caracas immediately framed the incident as an unacceptable escalation. The Pentagon described it as maritime enforcement. Now Venezuela's Navy appeared to be answering in its own way, pressing against the invisible line between defense and provocation. The USS Gravely, an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, is one of the most capable surface ships in the world. At 155 meters long, its SPY-1D radar can monitor more than 100 targets at once, while the Aegis combat system connects the ship directly with U.S. and Allied aircraft operating above. That level of power is exactly what makes moments like this so dangerous. One wrong reading, one nervous reaction, and the situation can climb faster than anyone intended. The Venezuelan patrol boats were likely Guay-class craft, fast, compact, and lightly equipped. They are built for pressure tactics, not for a direct contest with a destroyer. Their purpose is not to overpower a ship like the Gravely. Their purpose is to create a moment where someone else makes the first move. Inside U.S. Southern Command, encounters like this belong to the gray zone, a space where actions stay below open conflict but still carry real risk. Some officers call it controlled friction. It remains political right up until the second it stops being political. For the sailors aboard the Gravely, the politics were far away. The immediate concern was much closer, now inside 10 nautical miles. Every critical system on the ship was active. On the foredeck, the 5-inch 62 caliber Mark 45 naval mount rested in standby, its long barrel held toward the southwest. The system can send heavy naval projectiles more than 13 nautical miles with enough precision to stop a fast-moving boat if the situation ever required it. Behind that, the Mark 15 Phalanx close-in defense system, known across the fleet as CIWS, waited in readiness. Its 6-barrel rotary system is designed to protect the ship in the final seconds of a threat window. Sailors have their own name for it, Angry Steel, and at that moment, it felt one bad decision away from having a voice. Inside the Combat Information Center, the Aegis system was doing what it was built to do, turning chaos into one clear picture. Radar returns, underwater data, electronic signals, and surface tracking all merged into a single digital map. Every operator in the room could see the same unsettling pattern. The bearings were steady, the distance was shrinking, the approach angle was direct, and the speed was still rising. The ship's electronic warfare suite, the SLQ-32V3, stayed quiet, listening without transmitting. It searched the air for every signal coming from the approaching boats. Radios, navigation pulses, targeting emissions, even brief bursts of encrypted traffic, all of it mattered. Because before any ship makes a move, it usually says something electronically first. It is searching for the unmistakable pulse of hostile tracking radar, the kind of signal that would turn a tense approach into something far more serious. So far, the spectrum remains clean, but the crew knows silence can be just as dangerous as noise. Above them, the ship's eye in the sky is being prepared. The MH-60R Seahawk, the Navy's multi-mission helicopter known across the fleet as Romeo, is the Gravely's vital overwatch platform. It can scan surface vessels, monitor underwater activity, and in this moment, deliver the one thing the destroyer needs most: clear visual confirmation. The flight deck crew receives the order to prepare for launch. Rotor blades unfold, tie-down chains are removed. Every movement is smooth, precise, and practiced from countless rehearsals. But there is no mistaking the mood. The entire ship is one command away from its highest readiness posture, and every sailor aboard understands it. At 0519, the Seahawk rises from the deck, twin engines cutting through the morning haze. Its call sign is Razor 21. The mission is direct. Eyes on the contacts, no escalation. As the helicopter banks south, its FLIR pod immediately finds the 3 Venezuelan patrol boats below. From altitude, the crew confirms the visual profile. They are small, fast, and moving in a loose V formation. Their wakes slice through the sea behind them, white lines stretching across the dark water as their engines push close to maximum power. Razor 21 radios the destroyer. Gravely, visual confirmation on 3 hulls. Formation steady. Speed 28 knots. The helicopter's sensor operator switches the MX-20 turret to thermal imaging. Bright shapes appear inside the cabins. 3 men near the controls, 2 midship, 1 aft. Every one of them appears focused on the destroyer. The Gravely holds its course. Its powerful SPY-1D radar continues tracking the boats with extreme precision. But crucially, the crew does not take the next provocative step. That kind of action could turn a defensive posture into something far more difficult to explain. Instead, Romeo circles wide above the scene, sending a quiet but unmistakable message. The U.S. Navy has eyes everywhere. For now, it is a standoff. And with every passing minute, the space between them gets smaller. By 5:22, the range has closed to 5 nautical miles. That is close enough for the Venezuelan crews to read the hull number painted on the Gravely's steel side. It is also close enough for every sailor aboard the destroyer to feel the tension rising. The bridge makes the first move with a formal broadcast. Venezuelan naval vessels, this is a United States warship operating in international waters. You are closing distance at high speed. Alter course immediately. Nothing comes back. Seconds pass slowly, heavy and uncomfortable. Then the CIC watch officer reports, lead vessel still accelerating, 29 knots, range closing to 4.8 nautical miles. The captain's voice remains controlled. Set visible posture. I want all topside systems in sightline. No active tracking signals. On deck, the Phalanx CIWS turrets shift just enough for their barrels to catch the first light of morning. The 5-inch mount holds its position, steady and deliberate. From the perspective of the Venezuelan helmsman, the message is clear, calm, and impossible to ignore. We see you. Do not test this any further. The silence after the Gravely's broadcast hangs over the water like fog. Then, at last, a reply crackles through the communications net. The voice is tense, the accent unmistakable. This is Venezuelan Navy patrol. You are operating close to our territorial waters. Identify your mission. The bridge answered without hesitation. Venezuelan naval vessels. This is USS Gravely. We are operating legally in international waters. Maintain safe separation. The reply came not through words, but through movement. The Venezuelan boats eased their speed, dropping from 28 knots to 20. But the most important detail was that they did not break formation. They stayed together, holding position off the destroyer's starboard beam at only 3.6 nautical miles. It was a careful dance, controlled, deliberate, and dangerously close to the edge. Every sailor aboard the Gravely understood the rule no one had to say out loud. It is much easier to create a crisis than to explain one afterward. That is why the rules of engagement are drilled into every commander's mind. Under U.S. Navy policy, a ship can only move to its highest level of response if there is a clear hostile act or unmistakable hostile intent. A fast approach alone is not enough. Even a radar lock may still require additional confirmation before the next step is justified. So the Gravely stayed steady. Her cameras kept recording. Her radar kept tracking with extreme precision. Her launch cells remained closed. In that moment, restraint became the ship's most important tool. That is the paradox of deterrence. Sometimes strength is shown not by using it, but by proving you do not need to. What made the situation even more delicate was geography. The destroyer was operating 14 nautical miles from the Venezuelan coast, placing it in international waters. But Caracas claims broader authority under its so-called Bolivarian security zone, a policy Washington has never accepted. That disagreement over boundaries is exactly why encounters like this happen so often. Each side believes it is standing on firm ground. Each side wants to send a message. And the space between those messages is where the danger lives. Legally, the Gravely's position was clear. For the crew, the mission was even simpler. Do not let this become tomorrow's headline. One wrong call, one misunderstood signal, one radar spike read the wrong way, and the entire confrontation could shift from routine patrol to international crisis in less than 10 seconds. Then, at 05:34, the pressure finally began to ease. The Venezuelan patrol boat started a slow turn east. There was no farewell over the radio, no final acknowledgement, no explanation, just a quiet withdrawal, the kind that says without saying it, "We have made our point." The USS Gravely held course and speed, recording every second of the encounter. Radar tracks, communication attempts, power levels, system status, even the condition of key deck equipment. Everything was logged, preserved, and sent to U.S. Southern Command. Above the ship, Razor 21 remained in the air for one final pass before returning to the deck. Its sensors confirmed the Venezuelan boats were regrouping and moving parallel to the coastline at reduced speed. In Washington, analysts would study the encounter frame by frame. Was it a test of the Gravely's response time, a political signal from Caracas, or simply a show of frustration after a week of U.S. maritime operations that had put Venezuela under pressure? For the sailors aboard the Gravely, the answer did not matter in that moment. They had carried out the mission, they had followed the rules, and they had kept a dangerous standoff from crossing the point of no return. This was not a direct clash. It was not a mistake. It was a warning delivered through motion instead of impact. And every commander operating in the Caribbean understands one uncomfortable truth. The next time those same contacts appear on radar, they may not turn away so easily. The quiet withdrawal of the Venezuelan vessels at 05:34 marked the end of the immediate crisis. The USS Gravely held its course and speed, but the real work was only beginning. Every second of the encounter was documented with precision. Radar tracks, radio calls, power levels, system status, and even the heat readings from key deck equipment were logged, organized, and sent directly to U.S. Southern Command. Above the destroyer, Razor 21 stayed in the air a little longer, watching the Venezuelan boats regroup. The Seahawk confirmed they were moving back into formation, now traveling parallel to the coastline at a slower pace. Back in Washington, military and intelligence analysts would study the encounter frame by frame. The big questions were obvious. Was this a test of American response time? Was it a calculated political message? Or was it simply a show of frustration after a difficult week of U.S. maritime operations that had put Caracas under pressure? For the sailors aboard the Gravely, those questions could wait. Their mission had been completed. They followed the rules of engagement exactly, kept control of the situation, and prevented a tense standoff from crossing into something far more serious. That restraint may feel difficult in the moment, but it captures the strange logic of deterrence. Sometimes the clearest way to show power is to prove you do not need to use it. Still, every commander operating in the Caribbean understood what this moment really was. It was not random. It was not a misunderstanding. It was something more deliberate, a warning delivered through movement instead of action. Venezuelan patrol boats do not simply appear in the path of a U.S. destroyer by accident. In waters like these, every course change carries meaning. Every answer and every silence shifts the balance just a little. The encounter was over, but the quiet chess match was not. The next time those 3 contacts appear on radar, they may not turn away so easily. Maybe next time someone gets closer, maybe someone reacts too quickly, or maybe this low-level pressure finally turns into something the entire region cannot ignore. The message sent by the Gravely's steady presence, backed by Aegis, discipline, and steel, was calm, clear, and impossible to miss. We see you. Do not test how much we see. So now the question goes to you. Imagine you were in command of the USS Gravely that morning. 3 contacts are moving toward your beam. The political stakes are high. The legal limits are strict. Every choice will be reviewed afterward. Would you have held the same steady posture, or would you have made a stronger, visible move? Drop your answer in the comments. I really want to know where you stand. And if you want to support the channel directly, join the fleet. You will get loyalty badges, priority replies, and you will help us bring more real maritime stories to the surface. Just head back to our channel page and click Join. Fair winds, sailors. And remember, coffee always tastes better after a close call. I'll see you in the next one.